Hi everyone, welcome to my portfolio for instructional approaches to math. I'm going to try to give you a quick overview in 5 minutes, everything we learned in the last 10 weeks. So real quick, the reading we did, I actually really liked it. It was a little bit repetitive, but I enjoyed it and I got a lot out of it. We had to write 3 reflections based on the readings. What I got mostly out of it is that not every kid learns the same, that there are different strategies, manipulatives, different ways you can engage your students to help them learn, and so because not everyone learns the same way. The Stars and Wishes essay I enjoyed because it made me reflect on what kind of teacher I want to be when it comes to math. I hated math and I wish that my teachers had used different strategies and manipulatives and different ways to get me engaged because I was terrified and I just ended up being scared of math my whole life. The Tim's blog, there was a lot to get from this, but my biggest thing that I made me think about was the correlation between money and success. That teachers, schools with a lot of money behind them and in higher price neighborhoods seem to do better. They had more technology, more up-to-date textbooks. And so it made me think about if I do end up in a lower income area, what can I bring to the table to help these students succeed since they don't really have a lot maybe at home or in the classroom. I really loved the integrated math unit. I liked how I could take one big lesson and put it into small chunks. So that I liked the practice that it gave me there. So my big overall lesson was fractions to decimals and percentages. And I felt like, okay, I could take, one lesson and just introduce them to decimals one day. Play some games, teach them about decimals, place values, and how they relate to fractions and how they relate to percentages. Lesson 2, I actually did the grunt work and the more in-depth knowledge. So breaking down those fractions, putting them into division problems, and getting those decimals. And then lesson number 3, we would go over actually taking those decimals we got from lesson 2 and then turning those into percentages. The integrated math unit benefits it gave me was it gave me a chance to actually get familiar with some of the Common Core standards. It gave me a chance to look at the math lesson and what it takes to make a math lesson and what I need to think about when making a math lesson. Conducting the math lesson gave me practice to, okay, now I've written it on this paper, how am I going to teach it to the class? What manipulatives am I going to use? What strategies are we going to use? What am I going to give them as an exit ticket? How am I going to see and measure their progress and success? One of the things I did was I did come up with this game. It different fractions, and then I cut out some decimals, and then each piece on here should have a decimal to go with it. My professor gave me some advice on maybe if I'm using it as an exit ticket, just do a quick 4x4 so they can move on. The learning centers. I loved this idea too. It gave me a chance to take my fractions and my decimals, percentages, everything we learned, and put it into practice. So students would have a full, hour or two to go through these centers and visit each center and get practice. I integrated some literature here, a book, and then I also integrated some science right there with the skeleton where they can, label the bones in the hand. And then if there's 206 bones in the hand, or 206 bones in the body, how much percentage of our bones are in our hand, how much percentage of bones are in our legs, etc. Here's just a closer look at our my centers. And then the word problems and reflection. This was fun. It gave me some practice with some word problems and maybe see where I made some mistakes. I gave these problems to my 2nd grade son and my 2nd grade neighbor and my 5th grade son. And all of them were able to figure it out in their head without having to write anything down. So I'm thinking maybe make it a little bit harder if I end up teaching 2nd grade. My group project with Audrey, I loved. We came up with some really cool, fun activities. The one I ended up teaching is right here pictured. It is a clock that I made, and the hour hand and the minute hand move, and then here's a worksheet that goes with it, and this clock is a manipulative, so the student can play with it, change the hour, change the time, and then be able to count and see what time it is. The field experience and reflection, I observed mostly 5th grade classes because that's what I intend to teach, hopefully, and it was very helpful to me to see this. I was able to see different teaching styles, different strategies, different acronyms and games to play with your students, but I really I loved how I observed like 6 or 7 different 5th grade teachers, and a lot of them, some of them took and taught in small groups, and some of them took and taught the whole class at once. And so it was interesting to see which I thought worked better and which didn't. And the last thing I did was the math and literacy lesson, and I chose for my book 10 Wriggly Wiggly Caterpillars. I would read the book to the students. I had to create a lesson plan, which included reading the books to students, and we did some art and crafts. This is kindergarten, so it was mostly cutting out caterpillars and labeling them 10 to 1 and putting them in order, 10 going down to 1, and then it basically taught them counting backwards from 10. So, and I also created a worksheet to go along with this book. So that's it for me. I went a little over 5 minutes. I apologize.